Well, good morning. And I guess what day is it today? Wednesday, I think. You kind of lose track of the days when you're off from school. Let me get myself organized here. I just want to talk a little bit more about some preliminary stuff. I posted a video about uncertainties in measurement. Um, we'll address that again when we start doing labs in the fall. I do want to remind you, though, that if you're going to study physics, we need to really remember our famous trigonometric ratios that you learned in Miss Teague's class. If I have a right triangle, remember SOHCAHTOA, and if I have an angle here, call it theta. The ratios between the various sides are related to this angle. You know that the cosine of theta, this angle, is the adjacent over hypotenuse. So let's go ahead and give these some designations. Let's call that x, y, and let's call this h for hypotenuse. You can call them A, B, and C if you want to. It doesn't really matter. We know that the cosine of the angle theta is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. We know that the sine of the angle theta is the opposite over the hypotenuse. And finally, we know that the tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. So that's y over x. We can also say that the tangent of theta is equal to the sine of theta over the cosine of theta. So we have these relationships, and these are extraordinarily important to understand. I want to rearrange things a little bit here, especially with sine and cosine. I want you to be able to look at these two relationships also like this. H times the cosine of theta is going to give me my x. H times the sine of theta is going to give me my y value. Why is this important? Well, because in physics, we oftentimes need to break down things into their components, and these things are vectors, and I'm going to give you a whole video on that. But I just want you to get familiar with these relationships, or should I say refamiliarize yourself with these relationships. Also, this idea of the tangent of theta, sometimes we are looking for the angle theta, and we have the tangent of theta. We have y and x. So we could say the arctan of y over x, that's going to go back and give us our angle. Now, where does this come into play? This comes into play if we have forces. So many times you're going to be seeing something like this. You might have a surface upon which is a block. And you're going to learn pretty quickly that we reduce all of these problems that we're about to learn into very simple diagrams called free body diagrams. But you might have a force acting on this block at an angle to the horizontal. And we are going to have to be able to decompose this force. Let's just call it force. I'm going to put a little arrow above it. That means it's a vector quantity. A vector is something with magnitude and direction. So we have a force acting at some angle. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to break this up into components. The x component and the y component. So when we go ahead and see these problems, in order for us to begin these problems, we have to be very familiar with these relationships. And I'm sure you are by now because you saw it all in trig. This is just a little reminder. So if you're forgetful and kind of not thinking about this stuff, make sure you go back and and just review this, because in upcoming videos over the next several weeks, I'm going to be showing you this concept of breaking apart vectors into their components, also how to draw what's called a free body diagram, and then we'll delve into some simple kinematic equations and stuff like that. One of the things that I really want to stress for all of you is the importance of being very neat and tidy with your calculations. In other words, well, I'll make a whole video on how to solve a physics problem. You can't be haphazard about it. You can't be scribbling here and there. Everything has to be organized, and that's half the battle in terms of physics and learning it. Conceptually, the points that are to be made, that's the other half of the battle. So if you can reconcile the concepts with the problem solving and stay organized, you're going to be in great shape. Okay, quick one. I'll be back again later.